So my name is Sheree Mack, or you can call me Sheree Angela Matthews, and creatrix, she who makes. And tonight, I'm going to be structuring what I talk about around my core values. And what that means is what is important to me right now, my guideposts for how I'm living my life. And these are my foundation, but they also change like nature with the seasons. And also as I continue this journey of becoming, we sort of like spiral. And when I say spiral, it's not a case of circling back to the same position every time. It's sort of like that feeling of circling, but with every rotation, I'm not back at the same point, but I'm further up or further in, deeper into the awareness of my capabilities. I haven't been here before, but when I'm spiraling, I'm in a further point into the journey that I have a vantage point to view the situation. I have a clearer view of the journey. So my core values are not fixed for eternity. They change and spiral. And if they didn't, it wouldn't be a true reflection of my life or how I live my life. These core values keep me aligned with what matters, what makes me happy as I navigate my life day to day, moment to moment. So let's get digging into my core values with you this evening. And it feels good to do so, especially in the world that is going to pot, as I like to call it, as we are at the moment. My core values get me grounded so I don't get blown away. So these are my core values: creativity, self-reflection, trust, courage, presence, freedom. I'm going to address each one of these, what they mean to me, how they influence my practice, and then I'm also going to touch upon some influences on my practice that might share these core values also. So let's take number one, creativity. I'm creatrix, she who makes, as I introduce myself. And this quote, taken from the book by Lucy H. Pierce, says, "It was only on reflection that I realized that the urgency of claiming time to create is much, much more than just making art. Creativity has become my creative practice, my healing, my way of living in the world. I create to live." That's what it should say there. After a traumatic experience in my life about 7 years ago now, there was a profound shift in my way of being and moving through the world. I let my ego fall away, and instead of being driven by the marketplace, by people's demands and needs and expectations, or chasing the next best thing in terms of achievement or some kind of recognition and acceptance, I deepened my relationship with and understanding of the archetype of the creatrix. I began by going within and working with her and her energies. And basically, I tried to get out of my own way. I see creatrix as someone who uses his or her creativity to take the feminine wound and transform it, to take us from pain to power, to release shame that keeps so many of us trapped and fearful, to give voice to authentic feminine experience, every bit as bold and loud and vibrant as it wants and needs to be. Justine Musk. For me, the feminine wound is that feeling of unworthiness, of never being enough. I feel this daily. So I have a tattoo on the inside of my left wrist to act as a reminder. That tattoo says, I am enough. So who influences me around my creativity, this core value? We have Sonia Boyce here, who we know has just won the Venice Biennale, and also Carrie Mae Weems. These two influence me not only in their bold moves, but also how they present themselves within their art and with that also within society. Now, I'm just gonna stop sharing there and to just see if there's anyone that wants to be let in. No, there isn't. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna go back to my sharing and move on to the next core value. So number 2 was self-reflection stroke trust. And after my traumatic experience, I had to go within and work out who I be, which is a never-ending journey. There is no end point. I'm always in that process of becoming. I had to find out who I be and practice showing up as my true self again and again. My authentic self, and who has been hidden and repressed and put away out of fear, shame, and receiving that message early on that I needed to be a good girl. A good girl wasn't too loud. A good girl wasn't too much. A good girl was caring and kind and did what she was told and was expected to remain quiet. So in order to peel back the layers to get to myself, to get to my inner wisdom and trust the voice I found there, what I did then and what I've done since is journal. I visual journal. And luckily, with the visual journaling, there are no rules. It's a mixture of text, image, photography, notes, prompts, washi tape, stickers, collage. Here we've got here a quote, which says, a visual journal is a tool that helps us learn the language of meaning in our lives. Through journaling, we discover ourselves and find ways to get closer to our inner self and understand what is important to us. So I'll show you a few images of my visual journaling. It's a creative way to express and record your thoughts, feelings, wisdom, reaction through words and imagery. It allows you to take the time to listen and observe to your inner and outer worlds without judgment, only noticing. It's a simple but powerful practice, especially when you appreciate the process instead of focusing only on the final product in your visual journal. So this is what you're seeing, the final product, but the process to get here has so many layers that are peeled away to reveal for the first time how to trust myself. And influences within this core value. Okay, I'll have to stop sharing there. I can't move forward. Oh, now I can. So yeah, influences within this core value. Elisa Sonora, she was the first person that I found out about visual journaling through with her course, which was Dreaming on Paper. And then my lovely friend, Alwyn Wilson. So they all have their individual style of journaling, visual journaling, and they have influenced me within, different ways in my practice. Now, again, I'm just going to exit there because there was somebody who needed to be admitted and I just wanted to make sure. Oh, no, I'll admit them now. You see, you're part of the process, everyone, part of the process. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. Hopefully that person has gotten in now. And And let's go to the next core value, courage. Gosh, it takes courage to go against the grain, to check yourself, to admit when you're wrong, to fail, to step into your authentic power and accept yourself in all your fucked up glory. And this quote from Brené Brown says it all. If you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked on occasion, I am not interested in or open to your feedback. There are a million cheap seats in the world today, filled with people who will never be brave with their own lives, but will spend every ounce of energy they have hurling advice and judgment at those of us trying to dare greatly. Their only contributions are criticism, cynicism, and fear-mongering. If you're criticizing from a place where you're not also putting yourself on the line, I'm not interested in your feedback. Amen, Brené. Yes, because it does take courage. It does take courage to show up and be vulnerable, to show our soft bellies to the world, to live by our true core values, to trust and learn how to rise from there. I'm vulnerable through telling my story, telling my truth. I used to do this daily on social media through image and text. I would show my light and share my soul, and to hell with the consequences. I knew that I was being courageous, and through this process, I was healing myself. At the same time, as I hope, trailblazing through showing others that they too and should stand in their truth, and that you do actually still survive. But this year, I took a step away and left social media. And I'm not going to go into the reasons why, because they are a lot of reasons. But I took the decision, and I think it's a brave decision, because doesn't all of our lives supposed to be revolving around social media? But now I cultivate my own spaces, because at least then I'm in control. So influences around this core value, we've talked about Brené Brown, but we also have Kara Walker, who has touted so much controversy about what she chooses to depict and how she has decided to depict. And also Delita Martin. So many reasons why I have her as an influence, not just the layers that she incorporates into every work, but also that size of the Black woman. You cannot deny or look away or miss the presence. And that's my next core value, presence. When you love someone, the best thing you can offer is your presence. How can you love if you are not there? Nature is where I take my cues from. She has so much to teach us. I spend time with her. Through this practice of connecting with nature, I fell in love with nature. And as I believe, we are nature. Therefore, through falling in love with nature, I learned to fall in love with myself. And so, because of this practice, because of this connection, I feel I can offer a better or the best version of myself up to the world. And that means I have more love for others now that I know how to love myself. It's about showing up for myself, as well as being present in the moment. The practice of slow helps me with this. This is how I take back the power and empower myself. Okay, presence, being present in the moment. This film I created today as I was enjoying my time with nature today. And being in that moment, I've shared some of my moments, that slowing down, paying attention, means I'm not allowing someone else's sense of urgency or entitlement move me, take over me, or control me. Present in my body and not wishing myself away is when I'm connected with nature, in my body, in my senses, and I experience joy and pleasure through my body. I take up space and reclaim safe spaces that I have a right to as a human being, outside, inside, everywhere. Power. I have that power, individual power. In white supremacy culture, I'm not present in history, in the archives, in society. If seen, if not erased, then I'm a stereotype, debased, denied, negated, inferior. Presence is about taking up space on my own terms. It's about charting those who have been present before me. We are here and we have always been here, present. So I challenge those colonial archives. At this moment in time, I'm working on a commission from Baltic Centre of Contemporary Art to be part of a group show, which is going out in October 2022 to April 2023, and it's called Hinterlands. And it's inviting us to consider our relationship with the land, its ecosystems, and exploring those complex histories, methodologies, and legacies, and potential futures. And that's where I am attempting to create an archive around my maternal line and our relationship with nature, and who has influenced this core value of presence. We've got Deborah Roberts, an African-American artist who concentrates on young girls' bodies and how they are seen and portrayed, and empowers them in the way she constructs them. And then Charlie Palmer, another African-American painter, illustrator, who spent a lot of time maybe presenting Black pain and suffering, and then at some point clicked and changed his practice to become concentrating on Black excellence and a celebration of Blackness. Long live our Queen. And my final core value, freedom. I've mentioned it before, white supremacy culture. This illustration is showing the characteristics of white supremacy culture. Within white supremacy culture, we as Black people are not meant to survive, but everybody is not meant to be independent, free-thinking people under white supremacy culture. And I know saying white supremacy culture, saying those words might cause offense and get people on defense because it is associated with racism and extremism. But there's more to white supremacy culture than racism. There are other characteristics to this culture that get under our skin, go unchecked, are subtle, difficult to see, pinned down because they are insidious to how we are socialized, educated, and indoctrinated. These are some of the, if you look at the image, they're all on there. If you can't read, there's some such characteristics of fear. White supremacy culture feeds on fear. That's how it perpetuates the idea that there's only one right way. Productivity, produce, 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 go, go, go. Rest is a dirty word. Either or binary thinking, urgency, scarcity over abundance. That idea to have, you have the right to comfort rather than conflict. These are the lies that we are fed all of our lives until our eyes are opened through some kind of traumatic event or the veil is swept away. However, if you continue to operate as you did in the past, when you know how and why supremacy culture is operating, then you are part of the problem. You are complicit in the deceit. And I couldn't go on doing like that. I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't once my eyes had been opened. So I attempt to operate in a way that is outside of the system. From time to time, I might step into the system, the arena, so to speak, to challenge and agitate, such as run anti-racism training, lecture at uni about white supremacy culture, give presentations about my practice, knowing full well that this is temporary, a temporary sojourn, as I will step into my own space and practice and be on practicing on my own terms without the white gaze, doing and being as I want, being my true real self. Sort of like a parallel world running beside white supremacy system. And this for me is freedom. I choose to follow my own path without being influenced by anyone else's expectations or limitations that they choose to put on me or define me. I choose joy when I should be showing pain. I walk out into the landscape taking up space. I'm a quiet revolution. I'm creatrix. And influences within this core value, Afrofuturism, totally to the max. And there we have Krista Franklin, who doesn't just work in text, poetry, but mixed media, printing. She creates her own paper. She expresses herself by any means necessary, with every means necessary. And the last influence, Danielle Baudou Fortune, a Trinidadian artist and poet who creates beauty, And I'm just going to stop sharing my screen there. I have shared my core values, and I just offer it up to anyone who would like to ask any questions, or if they'd like any further information or links to anything, I can put that in the chat. But thank you very much for listening.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So inspiring. I love the way that you weave your inspirations and your values and your own work together in that presentation. It just, I thought that came across really well. Thank you. Awesome work.
Thank you.
I found the first part of your presentation very inspiring, seeing how you work with your values. I particularly liked your journaling, and I struggle a bit with sketchbooks. I'm trying to persist with them, and I think this is a way that I could start to use my sketchbook more, rather than just writing about what I'm seeing in nature and what my thoughts and feelings are, but perhaps a bit more about things that are perhaps a bit more personal. I don't know, I'll have to see.
You seem a bit reluctant, or you maybe a bit trepidation there, maybe.
I don't know. I think as a developing artist, clearly their journey is all about getting to know yourself better. So I do understand that, and increasing awareness of self and what holds you back, what binds you up, and those kind of things. I think when I the latter part of your presentation about white supremacy and things, this is something that for me as a I find quite confronting, quite challenging. And when I looked at those different things on those little jars, vessels, I could recognize all those things in myself and my upbringing, probably. But I feel, that I have other qualities that, and that I'm open. So hopefully, you can find ways of being different.
Thank you so much, Helen. But I'd just like to clarify that I said white supremacy culture.
Yeah,
the difference, and rather than just saying white supremacy, because that is the extreme. That is, if we can say, when we've seen, brutality and marches, etc., and attacks on the Black and brown bodies, and that idea with, Nazism, in the sense that we think, that they think that white is supreme and powerful, and anything else or anyone else is inferior. That, that's white supremacy. But if we think about white supremacy culture, it's the culture that we live in. And we're all educated in it. I've been educated into it, I've been living it, and to the point that I've internalized it. So it's self-hate, you know, that I was fearful about Black bodies, you know, believing the stories that we're told that all Black people are muggers or criminals or that we're animals, you know. I internalized that. So I didn't need anyone else to police me. I was policing myself. And it's actually realizing that I've been duped. I've had that veil over my eyes. And you know, after having that taken off, and I don't use the word woke because that is very American. It is a case of my eyes have been opened, and it's, oh my gosh, I can't close them anymore. But going with that, you know, as I've said, I know my history, I know the struggle, I know the suffering, but I also refuse to keep perpetuating that within my art. So when you see my art and it's full of color, that's me expressing my joy. If I'm in my visual journal, you know, I've got a blank page, just squirting and smearing paint across the page, not even with a brush, but with a, you know, a card, that brings me joy. Yeah. And that's what I want to share with the world. I come from a place of love rather than hate. Yeah. So that's why I say when we say white supremacy culture, it's not that, you know, there's a section of it that's about racism, but the other things is like it affects, well, it affects everyone. Yeah. And it is that produce, go. And that we must compete with each other, Helen, instead of collaborate. Yeah. We're competition, not compadres, you know, it's that mentality. And that, you know, so that's why I say white supremacy culture, because it's so insidious, and it's how we operate. That idea that we've had COVID and we must speed up, we must get back to where we are, we must get back to normal. And like, it's no, there is another way. We've seen it. Slow is good. Slow. So yeah,
I do agree. We don't spend enough time just being in the world and being present. And
that's why I say who we be is so much more important than who we do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
I really liked the I love Brené Brown anyway, but I love the quotes. Have you what do you think about the book if you've read it, The White Supremacy in Me? Do you know that one?
Oh, what's that? Lalia Said.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Oh, sad. Yeah. I've actually worked with that in a group for anti-racism reading group and I was the only Black person there. So I was facilitating that. And I find it, you know, even it can be off-putting even at the beginning, you know, because it is a directing you and it's pointing the finger. And that's very off-putting for some people. I mean, it gives us the language, however, for things that have been happening. And I am grateful to her because I do know her. I am grateful for providing the language. And that's how she presents herself. She does have that accusatory tone, yeah, that which can be put in people's backs. So I like to do it myself, but I do it with a smile, you see.
I suppose she's holding people accountable, isn't she?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, all of us to account. Yeah. And I just hope that it's read, but then also the work is being enacted too. It's not just a book you read. It is classed as a workbook. So you have to do the work. You have to address, because there's so much unconscious bias and prejudice within us that we need to check before we can do the work for others. And there is that idea of white saviorism in the sense like, you know, as a white person, I am here and I will help you and I will save you. And that isn't the right way of going about it, is it? Because it's, again, that's perpetuating that idea of like that paternalism, like we know best, you know, we know what's best for you, you know. And, you know, but it's brought spaces to have the conversation, to have those difficult conversations. So I commend her, and I am grateful to her on that text. So yeah. But so if there's no more questions, let's get on to the next person, you know, Nasmin.
Any more questions before we move on?
Sheree, sorry, I think it's just a quick comment from me. I would like to say thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. I think I just have like a question just out of curiosity. I think I've noticed the layers in some of your creations, and I was wondering whether that's deliberate or it just like comes to you natural. And as you move forward with your like journey towards, you know, more creativity, do you think you are getting rid of more layers or adding more layers to your creations? Thank you.
I love that. I love that, Naveen. Thank you. I've just put in the chat, palimpsest. This is a concept that I keep returning to again and again. And palimpsest, the original version, is a manuscript which has writing on that might be erased and used again, but then the original or the other layers that are underneath can be seen somehow, almost like a ghosting or a haunting. And I love that concept because, okay, we've got it on the page, but then we've also, I feel that we've got it within landscapes, how the landscapes have been formed above the ground, say with the mountains, but also below when we have the strata and the bedrock. And I also, you know, and we can also say that's in the sea because there's different levels in the sea and the ocean. But I also think we have that in us as people, in our bodies, you know, the idea that our body always remembers, and different experiences, traumas, happy experiences are laid down within us, within our souls and our bodies. And at some point, these kind of erupt or they come to the surface, and that can be in a good way or a bad way. So I do think as individuals, in our psyches, in our souls, in our bodies, we are made up of so many different layers. So I'm interested in exploring those different layers as individual layers. So here I am, I might go back to my DNA with generational trauma, say with slavery sort of thing. I might want to explore that. How's that occurring in this present form? And so that idea of, are we taking layers off or are we putting them on? And I think we're doing them both. I think there's sort of like a balancing act. You know, somebody said like a person who's on a tightrope walker, they're not actually still to get that balance, but they're constantly moving. Yeah, they're tittering one way or the other to maintain that balance. And I think that's how it is in a sense with the layers that we accumulate and experiences. So when I'm with nature, I feel that all my layers have like disappeared or disintegrated or been shed, because I feel like my true essence when I'm with nature, like all my identities fall away and I'm just being, and I'm so small and insignificant in the scheme of things of the universe, but at the same time, I feel so empowered. You know that idea? So like I'm stripped bare with nature, and then let's say as I go throughout the rest of my day, I've got this glow around me. You know, I don't know if when you were a kid, there was this advert about Ready Breck and you had this glow around you when you went out into the world. You know, it was cold day, but you were okay because you had your Ready Breck. So I feel like once I've come out the sea, say, I've got this warm glow around me, and the aim is to be that naked and open and receptive to the world. I'm smiling brighter, and the aim is to keep a hold of that feeling throughout the rest of my day. And of course, you can't maintain it for the whole day because things happen, don't they? People get in your face. There might be some microaggressions. There might be a deadline. But I know the next day I could go back and get that same feeling and then try again. So it's like that practice, isn't it? My life's a practice. my practice. So the answer to your question, Naveen, is layers are coming off, but they're also going back on. Yeah, they're also bedding down, but they're also getting loosened up. So yeah, it's not an either or, it's not binary. Remember, it's not binary. It's and both.
Thanks, Sheree. Great.
Thanks, Naveen.